Lead Well, Live Whole, the podcast where leadership meets life. Your host, Michael Sirmon, is here to help you rise above the noise, lead with purpose, and live with clarity. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to Lead Well, Live Whole, the podcast for leaders who want to rise with clarity and live with integrity. I'm your host, Michael Sirmon, and today's episode is a big one. It's called Influence Without a Title, Leading from Where You Are. Because let's face it, leadership isn't about position, it's about presence. And some of the most powerful leaders I've ever met didn't have the corner office, didn't have the title, and they didn't have the paycheck. But when they walked into the room, people leaned in. When they spoke, people listened. When they had a problem, they're the ones people turned to. They didn't have to announce their authority, they embodied it. So whether you're a new hire, a frontline worker, a student, or someone simply wondering if your voice matters, this episode is for you. Leadership is not a label. I've had many people over the years say, well, as soon as I become supervisor, I'll do this, or make me manager and I'll do that. But to set the record straight, true leadership, it's not about being in charge. It's about taking responsibility for your influence, wherever you are, whatever you are, whoever's around you. You don't need a promotion to live with purpose. You don't need a title to make a difference. And you don't need a permission to lead with character. Every hall conversation, every Zoom call, every ordinary day is a chance to lead well from the seat that you're in. According to Gallup, 70% of the variance in team engagement is directly attributable to the team leader, not the company CEO, not the ops manager, not the CFO, but the team leader. So let that sink in. Your influence, it matters. It matters far more than you think. Whether they have a title or not, a leader is clearly marked. So I want to share with you 3 traits that I've seen consistently in people who lead powerfully, even when they don't have personal authority to do so. First, they value initiative over excuses. They don't wait to be told what to do. They notice what needs to be done, then they act. And they own it, good or bad. Whether it's picking up the trash in the parking lot or offering a solution in a meeting, it's not about the size of the act. It's about the ownership mindset. I once worked with a young guy in a logistics department. We had a lot of challenges in the warehouse. So he rewrote the warehouse flow. Not because he was asked to do it, not because it was his job, but because he saw a way to make it better. When he got finished with it, he didn't present it for praise. He just walked over to the ops manager, handed it to him, and simply said, I think this may help us move faster. Want to take a look? And walked away. 2 months later, he was offered a leadership development role, not because of his resume, but because of his readiness. The second characteristic, they honor respect over recognition. They don't lead by shouting or demanding. They lead by showing up well. They're on time, they follow through, and then they listen before they speak. Respect creates room for real influence. Recognition may follow, but that's never the motive. I've worked with many leaders at all different levels. And for some reason, there's a mindset that says the one that speaks the loudest is the best leader. The one that throws a fit to get their way, the one that manipulates, the one that emotionally engages and causes people to do whatever it is that they want done, whether it's for the good of the team or the good of the firm or not. We think somehow that they're the natural leader. But the true natural leader is that one that's going to the individual, the ones that's going through the team, keeping them stable, keeping them balanced, keeping them focused on what needs to be done, and keep people engaged. Not the loudest, but the most influential. So let me ask you this. Who do you trust more? Someone who talks big or someone who quietly shows up and delivers? Think about that. The third mark of a true leader is they look for contribution over credit. People without titles, people who lead well without titles, aren't chasing after an applause. They're chasing impact. They elevate others. In fact, I found most of them are just trying to eliminate the chaos or the confusion or the inefficiencies in what they're trying to get done. But these people, they share the win. They don't need the spotlight and shine. I know in my own career, many times, I'd come up with an idea or I'd promote something, and then someone else would take it and float it up in front of the board or float it up in front of the management team. And, of course they would go for it and everybody's like, yeah, they did a great job. And my wife and those around me were, they would come and they'd say, but that was your idea. That was your thought. But the truth is I didn't care who got credit for it because it still got done. And I found most of those situations when there's a problem and they went to the person who presented it, they weren't able to come to a solution on the problem that was encountered because it really wasn't theirs to begin with. And stolen valor will always be revealed at some point. But even if it's not, the end result is still achieved. Harry Truman said, you can accomplish anything in life provided you don't mind who gets the credit. And for me, when you contribute without needing credit, you build invisible equity. You build the equity that trust compounds. There's a guy I know named Virgil. Virgil works in a plant that was in my chain at one point. Virgil's a guy who never wanted to be a supervisor, never applied for management, didn't wear fancy polos, he didn't push to sit in on leadership meetings. But when anything went wrong, he's the people went to. When new projects were rolled out, he's the guy people wanted to run them by. Why? Because he was steady. He was calm. He was present. And the consistent thing about him was if someone was struggling, he'd step in and he would teach them. If a machine broke down, he'd be the guy troubleshooting it with the team. Not from a distance, but right beside them. I remember I pulled him aside once and I said, you know what, you may not have the title, but you've got the team's trust. And that's worth a whole lot more. I said, well, why do you not want the title? And he said, I've seen supervisors and managers come and go. He said, but I'm still here. And I have influence over my team where I'm at that I would never have in that position because I'm one of them. And he said, that's all I ever wanted. Folks, that's the power of influence. So I want to invite you to slow down and reflect just for a minute. Leadership's not always loud. Sometimes it's about listening to the quiet places in your soul. Here are 3 questions to carry into the week. First question, where am I waiting for a title to validate what I already know I'm called to do? What are you hesitating on because you think you're not senior enough yet? I know many times working with young leaders or young professionals or just people on the floor. And They were bringing up suggestions of things that were wrong and things that could be done to fix them. And more than once, I've had them tell me, well, if you make me supervisor, then I can do this. Once I'm supervisor, I can take care of that. And I would ask all of them the same thing. Why do you have to be supervisor to be able to do that? Why do you think you need the title for the influence to get that, to get the job done and to achieve what it is that you're trying to do? Now, it led to some great conversations, and some heard what I was asking, and some heard what I was communicating with them, and they started taking that initiative, and most of them went on to become some great leaders. Some of the others waited for the title, continue to wait for the title, and every day they get more bitter. They talk about how stupid management is, how out of touch management is, and the whole while they continue doing that which they know they're not supposed to do, while they're waiting for somebody to give them the title so they can start doing the right thing. Talking to somebody who is always late coming into work and talking to them about attendance, and they put in for a promotion. Well, you bring up about the attendance, and they say, well, yeah, but if I get that promotion, then I can start showing up on time, or I can start being here every day. The truth is, if you're not doing it now, you're not going to do it then. A title or more money, that's not going to do it. The second question: what kind of influence am I leaving behind when I walk out of a room? When I leave, is there peace or is there tension? Is there clarity or confusion? Are people encouraged or are they silenced? Think about the meetings that you're in. Do they run better when you're in them than when you're not? Does your department run smoother when you're there than when you're absent? If you walked away today, how long would your departments, how long would your plants, how long would your companies continue to operate? Or would they start that gradual decline back down to their normal state? Third question: who's watching me that I didn't even realize I'm leading? Because leadership is a legacy. Even if it's unspoken, someone's learning how to lead by watching how you live. I've learned a lot of leadership from bad leaders because I watch them and I see what they're doing and I see the influence or the impact of it, and I either choose to do it or I choose to emulate it. The same goes for good leaders. If someone has to come and tell me what a great leader they are, and suddenly I'm like, oh, wow, you are a great leader, and I didn't see that and the impact of what they're doing, then the truth is they're not a great leader. They're someone who is good at self-promotions, good at lifting up their own banner, promoting themselves, but the team is not stronger for them being in it. It's easy to look at the numbers and say this person is the better leader or this person is the most effective employee because their numbers are higher than the one right beside them. But the truth is, often, if that one beside them is not doing the leadership piece that's needed within the project doesn't get done. They just don't care enough to push through to get the credit for it. And sadly in life, most of the time, they're the ones who are going to be promoted over or be ignored or not get the bonuses or not get the raises or the opportunities. But the company's actually better for their leadership, their quiet, consistent leadership. And whether it's your children, whether it's the young people in your plants or in your department, or even some of your senior leadership, everybody is watching you. I've said it before, and I've quoted it many times in my life. I love what William Shakespeare said. He said, when the whole world is but a stage, and we are all players thereupon. Something like that. But the gist is true. Everybody's watching us. Now, we can be true to who we are, and we can lead and guide from where we are, or we can pretend to be something else, and then when the storm hits, who that something else is destroyed. But let's move from reflection to action. Here's what I want to challenge you to do this week, even without a title. First, find one need you can meet without being asked. It could be simple. It can be organizing a messy space. It can be staying late to help a coworker, or it can be helping someone solve a problem that they've been avoiding. When you do these little things, then it begins to build your muscle through motion. 2, encourage someone else publicly. Send an email, give a shout out, compliment a coworker in front of a team, because when you elevate others, you multiply your influence. But here's the hint, or here's a hint. It has to be sincere. You have to mean what you're saying. And the reality is, I don't care who you're dealing with, you can find something about them that you like. There's something about them that they're doing well. But you often have to get past your own biases and past your own prejudices to be able to see it. The third act, ask for feedback from both directions in your chain. Ask your manager, what's one thing I can do better? Then go to a peer or a newer teammate and say, hey, what's something I could improve to support you better? That's humility, and that makes it about them. And humility builds trust faster than charisma ever will. I do want to ask a favor of you. Drop me a message or tag me on social. Let me know one step you've taken this week where you've led without a title. Because you don't need a bigger title to lead with more integrity. You just need to be faithful where you are. When you lead well now, bigger opportunities are going to follow. But you know what? Even if they don't, you've already succeeded. Because leadership, it's not measured by your title. It's not measured by your role, by your position, by your paycheck. It's measured by your ripple. Because people remember how you made them feel. They remember how you showed up. Not your name badge, not your title. And they don't even know what you make anyway. So go live and lead from where you are, because you never know who's watching. You never know who's waiting to be led by your courage. So thank you for tuning in to Lead Well, Live Whole. If this episode challenged or encouraged you, share it with someone who's ready to lead from where they are. And remember, new episodes drop every Wednesday at 6:30 a.m. So until next time, keep showing up, keep leading well, and never forget, your influence matters more than your title ever will. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Lead Well, Live Whole. If this added value to your journey, share it with a friend and subscribe. Until next time, lead those you serve well and live your life whole.